Hello?
Hi, Martin.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. Martin, it's nice to have you here, even if you are this time very small on the screen. But Martin, you have photographed our way of life for soon 50 years. You have photographed how our homes look like, what we eat, how do we spend our holidays, what we buy, and the beach. You always return to the beach. Why the beach?
I'm fascinated by the beach, and it's been part of my long photographic career. My parents were bird watchers, so we didn't get taken to seaside resorts. So I think because of that, I've always had this sort of attraction to going to glitzy, gaudy, colourful seaside resorts. And what I've done over the years is to use it as my experimental lab. So whenever I've had a new camera or a new approach or a new whatever, I've gone first to the beach to explore what's possible. So it started out in black and white, and I went to the last resort with my 6x7. Then I went to the macro lens, and then more recently I've done the telephoto lens as well. So I'm always interested in the beach. It's always something fascinating. And the show we have now in Finland reflects, if you like, that long history of my involvement with the beach.
Okay. How has the beach changed in the almost 40 years? How have the people changed?
I don't think the beach is almost exempt from change because apart from the fact that swimwear looks different, say 20, 30 years ago to now, it's one place where you probably wouldn't often tell what date it was taken. What does change, of course, as you go around the world, you get people in different approaches to beaches. You know, if you go to India, everyone's, the women, for example, are fully dressed. If you go to Brazil, the women are virtually wearing nothing. So you can see the regional differences in people's approach to the beach all throughout the world. And that's always fascinating to me.
Have you changed the way you photograph on the beach, apart from technique?
I've been much closer in my earlier career with the 6x7, with the macro. I got very close. Now, of course, with the telephoto, you don't need to be so close. You're often a long way away from people. So in that sense, it's different. But that's really just a coincidence. And I guess also it's more difficult now to shoot pictures on the beach, especially with kids. There's often angry response. I'm sure you've encountered that yourself.
Yes.
I mean, people are more genuinely sort of scared of the photographer and think that they may be up to no good. So that's one attitude that's really changed, say, since I did the last resort, which I did in the 80s.
Do you ever get in trouble when you photograph?
Oh, yeah. I mean, getting into trouble as a photographer is just part and parcel of what happens. It's an occupational hazard. So, I've, occasionally had encounters with the police. But, I've never been arrested or I've never been sued because what I'm doing is perfectly legal.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. One important question. How do you dress when you photograph on the beach? Do you want to blend in or?
You wouldn't. I look very anonymous. I'll have shorts, I'll have sandals, a Hawaiian T-shirt, whatever.
That's important to.
No, I don't think about it. I just look like I'm on the beach.
Okay, good. Is there something on the beach that you have not yet explored? Something that you want to do?
There's many things I haven't explored. It's more going to different beaches, in particular in the United Kingdom. I've been to probably many of the important resorts, and I still keep going to them. So it's not so much the style and technique, it's just the spread of where I want to go. So there's still some famous resorts which I haven't photographed enough here in the UK, like even Blackpool, or Great Yarmouth, which is probably one of the other three big ones. They're the ones that I want to spend more time in.
Are your pictures more candid, or do you take contact, or is it both?
Generally on the beach, they are pretty candid, yeah. I mean, I do projects where I meet people, I do portraits, I get their address, I send them a print. But for the beach shots, they're generally pretty anonymous. Even though if you meet people, you don't necessarily need to send them a print. I mean, if someone writes to me because they've seen my picture of them in a show or a book, I'll always send them a print automatically.
Yeah. How has the documentary photography changed in the last Yes, even in Magnum, I have noticed that there are younger photographers whose work is conceptual or artistic, if you want to use that word.
Yeah, I think sadly, documentary photography is somewhat in decline. Less people seem to be doing it. As you mentioned, a lot of very conceptual work, a lot of arty work. You know, I'm interested in people who go out there, find people, find situation, tell stories about what they found, and give us the evidence in photographs. So that's one reason why I have the foundation here, is to support, in particular, British documentary photography, which I think is very good, and to give people a platform and to collect their work and to basically, show them to the rest of the world, albeit in a very limited sense.
You seem to have, when I look at your pictures, that you have access everywhere. But are you worried about your right as a photographer or storyteller to photograph freely? Has that changed?
I think it's getting more difficult to get access to places. People are controlled by the PR system. I'd say it's the innocent times of when I started seem to be over, and now it's much more difficult to get into places. I mean, of course, if you're dealing with an individual person, individual life, then you can just ask and meet and ask permission. But for big companies and factories and things like this, it's getting more and more difficult.
Are there things that you would like to have photographed, but you were not able to do it?
Certainly when I was doing my establishment project about the rich and wealthy in the UK, things that I couldn't get into. I'd love to photograph the Queen's garden party, for example, but I'll never be able to get into that. So there are certain things that are always going to be hidden from me, sadly.
There's a lot of humor in your photographs. How important is humor in your work?
Well, I don't see how you can photograph in this world that we live in without being humorous, really, because, there's so many things which are funny and mischievous and interesting. So I just naturally reflect what I come across. And humor is just an integral part of that.
Yeah. But are you seeking for humor, or is humor something that is built in your vision?
I'm not particularly seeking it. It's just out there. You can't avoid it.
Oh.
The world is a funny place, and we have to smile and laugh. Otherwise, we cry.
Yeah, that's true. Is there still some big themes that you would like to photograph that you haven't done?
Not
yet?
really. I mean, I'm nearly 70 now, so I'm basically just sort of tidying up my other things. I don't think I've got another huge body of work. I'm starting to slow down. That's what happens when you get older. So. I'll still be photographing, but I am not as speedy as I used to be. I don't have a big project yet that I yet to tackle.
As you said, you are not very young anymore. How has aging affected your work?
Well, it makes you realize that you can't go on forever, and that you have to slow down a bit. You have to use your time more carefully. And also, I'm thinking about my legacy, and part of my legacy is the foundation. So I'm working very hard on making that happen and supporting that. It's getting sorted out and ready to pass the baton on.
You spent some time in Finland. What do you remember about Finland apart from makkara? I read that makkara is the only word that you
That's right.
remember.
One thing that amused me, talking about beaches, we arrived when I was doing my week-long shoot in the first week of September, went to a very big beach resort, beautiful, hot, sunny day. No one was there. They'd all packed up.
Oh.
So it's funny how the Finns are very disciplined about stopping their summer holiday probably halfway through August and then getting back to work.
Yeah, everything dies. That's true. Is there something, Martin, that you would like to tell the viewers of your exhibition here? How should they look at your work?
Well, the show in Finland now is a collection of my best beach pictures taken all around the world. Some of them, they don't go back into black and white. They show color from the early days, the 80s, right the way through to a few years ago. And they just show the variety of approaches that I've adopted, and also the variety of places I've been to. There are many, many countries represented. And it's a good chance to, as the summer season is about to open in Finland, and the 6 weeks you're allowed on the beach is about to begin, it's a good chance to remind yourself of what you've got to look forward to.
Martin, what would you like to say young photographers who are at the beginning of their career? Do you have any advice or?
I guess my advice would be, you have to find the right subject. You have to find one that you're interested in. You have to make the connection to that subject. And then if that really works, then that's how good work will emerge. But if you're thinking too hard about how to be a good photographer, you'll never become one.
Okay.
But to get the magic of the involvement of the subject, and then you find a way of articulating that.
I think that was about it.
Okay.
Thank you, Martin.
Pleasure. Thank you, Marcus. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye-bye.